First, I gotta make sure my microphone's on. It's not.
Yours is much better than the one I have.
No, not at all.
Mine's just like a small little.
There we go. All right, we're live. You can tell it's live because things go wrong. Hi, it's Andy, back again for another interview with one of the attendees here at the show. And right now I'm talking to CHristy Hutchison, who is the mold realtor. This is awesome because you come to a show like this and you never know what to expect, what people do with the knowledge they've gained at one of these shows. And so, tell us a little bit, what's your journey of getting to a show like this?
So for me, I am a CSRS person, patient, I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
So I had mold illness several years ago. We moved into a rental that had mold. Within 3 months, I was very sick. I was not sleeping at night, 4 nights in a row, ended up emergency room. Lots of different health, organs failing, body shaking. So we knew the environment, we had to get out. So we went to another rental, 3 months, never got better. Another rental. Finally moved back to our home that we still owned in Northern California. I got about 50% better, but it had a raised foundation, so we knew there was that's where maybe it started, small symptoms. So then we decided, okay, this isn't working either. We need an environment that's clean. Let's get out of here. We moved.
Right.
Went to a home in Arizona. From the ground, we just gutted the whole thing. Built it, healthy home, low VOC, leak-proof, everything. No mold, everything's gone. So that's kind of how I ended up here, getting back into real estate once I got healthy again. And it just God just brought it to me, person after person, story after story of their symptoms, their illness. And then the journey just began. I decided, you know what, I need to help people. I need to help people find homes. This is where my heart was going. Yep. So that's where I am now, just helping people that have gone through what I've gone through that don't know what to do.
Right.
It's so overwhelming. The process, your brain's not working right. You don't know where to begin. You don't know who to trust, because a realtor just wants to sell you a home where I'm not just going to sell you a home because I don't want you to ever be sick again.
Well, that's it. Anybody who's ever gone through what you've gone through health-wise, you can't imagine putting anybody else in this
Never.
situation. And that's a common theme I hear so far with all these interviews, is that everybody's in this because of something that happened to them personally or within their family. And it's the empathy that we all have for what people are going through.
Yep.
I have clients of mine who are living in a mold-infested home that are going to pay to have it fully remediated so they can sell it, because they couldn't imagine selling the home to somebody in this condition, because
100%.
they never want to put anybody in that position. And
100%.
so, it's unlike most diseases.
Yeah.
And so it's just so encompassing in how it affects your entire life.
Yeah, it does. It takes over every aspect.
So I've worked over the years with builders, architects, some realtors. Years ago, there was an organization called Green Realtor that started.
Okay.
That's back when it was all about energy efficiency, sustainability.
Oh, that kind of a green. Okay.
Yeah. The greenwashing.
That's a different.
aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And my pushback was, but what about the health of the occupants?
Right.
Well, that wasn't a big concern for them.
It's the environment. We care about the climate and we care about the earth, not the people.
Right. And so my motto in business for 33 years has been, what good is it to save the environment if we're still poisoning the occupants?
100%.
And so what you do now in realty is you help people who are CSRS survivors, or they just they never want to become one of the statistic of people who develop CSRS.
Right.
And you help them find a healthy home.
Right, and they don't even know where to begin. They're renting or they're moving from Airbnb, and the first conversation I have with them, because they'll say, well, we can go to another rental, will you help us find a rental? And I just say, no. You have to control your environment. You cannot live in a rental. There's just no rental home that is going to be acceptable. When you've compromised your health, it's now the rest of your life, really. I mean, you're just in that position. So this is where they don't know where to begin. They don't know what to look for. They don't know. There's so many things like no flat roof, no basement, no raised foundation. There has to be gutters. Like a lot of homes in Arizona don't have gutters, and I go, the water's just running down. Yeah. So those are just outward signs that they just don't even. They're like, oh, don't even go look at those homes.
Right. So, I mean, everything you talk about is kind of common sense, but common
Right.
sense is not very common
No.
these days. And so we need help in this industry. And I know I'm going to have you on the full show probably in the next couple of months, and we'll talk about that because this is a fascinating topic.
It
Yeah.
really is. The stories that
Exactly. But, what do you, I don't know how to word this correctly, but, what's your bullet points or how do you help somebody find a home do you actually go to these homes first before
do.
you do?
I go tour them first.
Okay.
Yes, and I go through with my flashlight, and because I've looked at so many homes, I know exactly what to look for. In my years before I helped mold illness, sellers cut every corner you can imagine.
Yes.
So I know everything in the book. So I know what they have not done right, and I know what to look for. And a lot of times I won't even help sellers anymore, because I don't want that liability, and I know what's going on. So I go in first and do that, and then when we find acceptable homes, then we go back and we go look at them.
So how do you find it working with then the seller's realtor? When you come in with your flashlight, you got your, all your equipment, and you're essentially doing like an environmental home inspection.
I do.
That's got to be a little bit tricky sometimes.
They usually don't know. I did go in one that had cameras everywhere, and I was like,
hi, I'm just checking underneath the sink.
luckily the smell was so bad and the baseboards were coated. I walked in and I just said, nope, we're not even going to tour this home. No, because of maintenance, I just knew nothing else had been taken care of.
Sure, right.
So it wasn't even an option.
Yeah, so those are one of the easy ones.
Yeah.
The difficult ones is when you're really having to pick through things. But I'll tell you,
Yeah.
clients of mine over the years, this is what they're in need of. They're asking
Yeah.
for this. I do the best I can remotely, on a Zoom call or a FaceTime call, but I can't dig into things the way you can.
Yeah.
And when you're boots on the ground, actually inspecting things, and this is why this is such a fascinating
Yeah.
career. It's
It
something
really
that,
is.
I'll be honest, I've worked with environmental home inspectors who started in the traditional home inspection industry, and now they moved into environmental home inspection. But I've never worked with a realtor who has kind of married the two. This is fantastic.
Yeah, and then the connections, the inspectors that I have, they're not all created equal as well. So I'm very picky about who comes in and inspects, and I'm there. I don't have any inspection go on that I'm not there for. And then I ask questions when they tell me, oh, this is the best house, it's full of copper lines, water lines. You're getting a great house. I walk away and they walk away and I tell the client, no, it's actually not any better. It can be worse.
Right.
Yes, you'll get the mineral aspect, but they deteriorate. When we have that whole conversation.
They condensate.
Yes, that most realtors don't know. They would just be like, oh, that's fabulous,
Right.
So we
Yeah.
have a lot of conversations like that.
Okay, so yes, folks, make sure you follow the channel because in the next month or so, she's going to be back on. And we're going to have an hour to talk about these
That'll be
things.
awesome.
And we're going to get into some horror stories because I want to hear the good, bad, and the ugly because
Yeah.
and everybody does because
Yeah.
you need to know kind of what the range is out there of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, if you're in California or Arizona,
In Arizona, yep.
you can work with her directly. So
Yeah, I consult with agents if you're in another state. I'll come in and consult and give them a list of things, or they send me reports so I can view everything as well and oversee a project if I can't be there.
Excellent. All right,
Yeah.
folks, make sure to check out Christy's, what's your website?
The Mold Realtor AZ for Arizona.com.
Awesome. Check it out, and we'll be back in touch shortly. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.